Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I just saw Evil Dead Burn and I thought it kinda sucked. Evil Dead is a long-time fan favorite horror franchise, started 40 plus years ago by Sam Raimi with his original trilogy of The Evil Dead 2, and Army of Darkness. Then the franchise lay dormant for 20-ish years until it was one of several horror films that got a remake in the late 90s to early 2010s. That movie, just called Evil Dead, was a soft reboot, basically meaning that all the original movies are still canon, but it had nothing to do with those. It was very dark and pretty serious and very, very, very bloody. The franchise once again took a break, this time for a decade, and in the meantime, doing 3 seasons of a TV show that I'll probably never watch. And we got Evil Dead Rise, a movie which appears to start a new standard for the franchise that Evil Dead Burn continues, being boring. It was violent for sure, but it felt like the movie just left no impact on me. At least besides the opening scene. The opening scene was great. I didn't feel like the franchise was out of ideas though. With Burn, however, I do feel like yes, the franchise is out of ideas. Evil Dead Burn is about this woman whose abusive husband dies, then she gets stuck hanging out with her dead husband's family in this house in the middle of nowhere, and one by one they all turn into deadites. Essentially, this movie is just playing you the highlights. If you want to see deadites doing what deadites do best, this movie is for you. But for me, this was the first time watching an Evil Dead film where I could mistake it for any other supernatural horror movie. This director, Sebastian Vanecek, made literally one movie before this, and I'll assume that it's good, but I don't think he gives this movie much personality. There's a couple moments in the movie where it felt like pale imitations of the original Raimi films, and I don't understand why you'd have a movie that has this much blood and gore and everything just looks so gray. It's like I'm watching a Marvel movie. When it comes to the gore, it doesn't really do that much for me. I'm not much of a gore head, and I only like the remake because it's just so over the top bloody. But this new one has a tone that feels way more serious, and I don't think it works because these characters aren't particularly likable before they're deadites, except the main character. Like, yeah, that was the point, but it doesn't make for a good watching experience. It was pretty on the nose. Like, I get it. Her ex-husband's whole family is evil because they're all complicit in his abuse of her. Did you really need 110 minutes to tell me that? That's another thing I didn't like about this movie that the other Evil Dead films don't do. This movie is far too long. Far, far too long. Evil Dead as a franchise was made to just be 90 minutes. You're in and out in no time. This movie feels so long, and it doesn't help that the ending gets dragged out forever. It's like Project Hail Mary. Like, it feels like it ended 4 or 5 times. The strongest part of this movie is surprisingly the acting. I thought all these actors were pretty good, at least pre-Deadite. I just don't think they were given good characters. Now, you might be asking, since when do characters matter in an Evil Dead movie? And my answer to that is, apparently since the last one, seeing as Burn is a direct sequel to Rise. Yeah, this one has a post-credit scene with Ellie from Rise, so I guess the next movie is gonna follow her and maybe the final girl from this one, except the next one is a prequel to the entire franchise, so maybe they're gonna make another sequel in this new chronology of standalone films, even though technically this new trilogy is in the same continuity as the originals because they share continuity with the remake. And the remake shares continuity with the originals. And anyway, I'm hoping that this prequel can breathe some new life into the franchise because I think it's heading down a very bad direction. That's also true for the other new Evil Dead movies, but it's much more true for this one. It just felt like any other mediocre possession movie gore fest. Acting was pretty decent. The gore was pretty decent, but again, doesn't do that much for me. The characters were not good, and it just felt like the same movie I already saw 3 years ago. Like, it just felt so like a retread. Very disappointed by this one. 4 out of 10. That's gonna do it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. Leave a like if you liked the video. Subscribe if you want to see more content. Follow me on Letterboxd if you want to keep up to date on what I'm watching. Follow me on Twitter if you want to see random stuff. I don't post that often, but if you want to see whatever I'm posting, then you can go ahead, follow me on Twitter. Short outro for this one, but I got a bunch of videos in the works, hopefully, in the coming weeks. trying to make up for lost time after the Supergirl video. But I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.